Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're here for another episode of Adventures in Business Live. Mandy, how we doing?
Amani, I'm stomping. Can you hear me? I'm marching.
Yes, I can hear the marching.
We're here. We're here. I wish I had a trombone. You know, I love parades.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I returned from Nashville late Friday night, Saturday morning. But I happened to see on the social media that you were at your first soccer game for San Diego FC.
You lurker.
I can't believe you're one of my stars on Instagram, so all your posts show up, so I see it. So
just kidding. So I love Snapdragon, the new stadium in San Diego that used to be Qualcomm. And I've been to some things there. I've been to the women's soccer. I've been to concerts there. I've done hard hats, site inspections, all the things. But never have I ever been to the men's soccer game. And it was phenomenal. First of all, San Diego is in the first place in the West Coast Conference. Mm-hmm. And San Diego played the second place team, the Vancouver team. Yeah. So it was fun because it was like first place versus second place. And then Scoot and I took one of my favorite clients / friends and her son, he's 11, and he plays soccer. And so they flew in from Las Vegas to come to the game. And so it was it's always fun to see her, but her son, like we found this little area where we were sitting where it's the visiting team tunnel. And so we kept sending her son up to like the corner to shake their hands. Like he's clapping their hands and they come in and out, and like the referees did too. And the energy was amazing. Like if you've never gone, there were 27,000 people there, which is a huge number for soccer. And across the way, it's called the support section. They had all these different flags of the people that they were supporting, the country flags of everybody on the different teams. So there's like a Colombia flag and a Jamaica flag and a United States flag. It was so fun. Yeah, I would go again. The vibe was great. And it was, they ended up, I don't know, in soccer, you would know, Amani, because you're a soccer person. It's called a tie, but do they call it something else?
Called a draw. DRAW.
It was a draw.
Yeah,
it was 1-1. It's a draw.
Yes, 1-1. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Well,
it was really
I think
fun.
almost at the same time you were at the San Diego FC game, I also went to a game in Nashville on Wednesday when I got there. So our good friend Alistair Tober, he took me to the game. We got to catch up. It was fun, and they actually won 3-0. It was exciting. It was very good game.
Yeah, who'd Nashville play?
They played Columbus. So Columbus Crew.
My Ohio, my home
You're
state.
Ohio. Yes, you're Ohio.
That's my team.
Yeah, it was a really good game though.
Yeah, that's fun. How do you feel about this, Amani, being a lifelong soccer player, soccer fan? How do you feel about the moment that soccer is having right now?
Well, it's been a long time coming. I think the moment I'm waiting for is when the U.S. can actually advance to like the semifinals of the World Cup. That's the true
Mm,
moment we're waiting because we've gotten sort of close before. I'm impressed. I was surprised at the growth of the MLS because it's got a lot of teams, but
yeah.
they grew smartly because they went to kind of the smaller markets. Like you have like the San Diego's, the Nashville's, the St. Louis, and so they have loyal fans in the city. So that's smart. So they're in all the bigger cities, but the growth of the league has been very impressive. So
Mhm.
I just want to see it keep going. I really am looking forward to the World Cup, and if we can advance to like the semifinals and eventually one day maybe win a World Cup.
Yeah. Did you put your name in for the World Cup lottery? Are you on the list?
No, I'll just see who I can get tickets from. So yes,
Oh, you're so fancy.
yes,
The commoners, like my husband and I, have our names on the lottery
yes,
list. But no, Amani's just gonna place a call.
yeah. I'm gonna place
He's
the
got a
call. Gotta
guy. He's got a
use the
guy.
connections. Yes. Speaking of connections, that's a good segue.
Yes. That's great
So
segue.
our guest today, I had the pleasure of meeting Leslie at Brand Builders Group. I think we were at the April or the June accelerator. You have to remind me. And okay, okay. Okay, so I'm going to actually bring Leslie in now. So as we're talking, because you were in the green room, so I'm going to introduce Leslie. So hold on, let's do this here. So there's Leslie on your screen. Met at our Brand Builders Group Accelerator event, and we were talking about websites. And very soon after, I needed to create my website for my book, which is crucially important to the drive we were making towards bestseller lists and all the things, and they did a tremendous job. Like the website is beautiful. I still use it. I'm still going to use it. So I was like, okay, we got to get you on the show so we can learn about all the things about websites and that. So without further ado, let's bring, well, she's on the screen now, but we'll welcome Leslie Owen here with a round of applause.
Leslie,
Yay!
welcome. Welcome. It's good to
Thank
meet
you
you.
both so much. I've been counting down for my time with the both of you. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and share and to hang out.
Yes, yes. Well, we're happy to hang out. I think maybe a good question to start with is how did you get into designing and building websites?
Yeah, that's a very windy, twisty, turny journey that I did not expect, which I think both of you could probably relate to. I actually started off in media production. So I was a producer, a television producer for 13 years and did all sorts of things. I did documentaries, I did commercial spots, I did lifestyle talk shows. And I kind of always felt like the content that I was creating and producing was only as good as the audience that I was aware of and that I understood. And so sometimes we would create a commercial spot and they'd come back to us and say like, I did okay. It wouldn't really answer like why. And so that naturally just led me to marketing. And so I found my way, started my LLC in 2016 and got my life coaching business coaching certification. And so I started doing video marketing on the side because it was the best of both worlds. Not only could I still create video for people, I also had just this playground now to explore all things marketing. And then I got pregnant with my fourth child and decided, staying up till midnight, working on stuff and waking up at 4 in the morning because that was my side hustle. I was like, this is just not sustainable. So I put it down for a bit. And I honestly didn't think that I was going to pick it back up, but I never dissolved it. I kept the LLC, made my way out of full time production into full time corporate marketing for 2 years and loved it. Absolutely loved it. I was a part of a company called C12, which is peer advisory groups across the country. So essentially, I got a front row seat at tables with CEOs across the country. So it's almost like I got this mini MBA of just absorbing all of this material that we were creating for them to have these groups, and then just learning from them. And that's when 2020 came around, and I was a part of that very big great resignation that many women like me found themselves in. Although there were a lot of women in leadership in the company, there was not a lot of women in leadership with children my age. And so I was homeschooling three of them
Hmm.
and potty training a 2-year-old.
Oh my
So that
gosh.
just that just didn't work. I wasn't able to be as strategic and as present as my peers. And so they unfortunately kind of gave me an ultimatum. And they're like, if you want to be on track for marketing director, you're going to have to work even harder than you are now, or we're going to move you into more of a business development role, which I really wasn't interested in. So I took a big chance on myself, and my husband looked at me and said, well, we got a whole bunch of stimulus checks because of all these kids. Take it. You're the best investment that we could ever invest in. And so I gave myself like a good 3 months to build up my clientele, and I went full in to full-time marketing consulting. Did that for a while. During that time, my husband jumped ship and did nonprofit consulting on his own. And one day we looked at each other because he had been a web designer for 20 years, just tinkering with websites, playing with websites here and there, doing it for friends, for favors. And I said, well, you're selling websites for like not a lot. I have an entire business network that I know that I can sell them for more. Let me try selling them for you. And so I think we set a goal for 3 of them, and I sold 5. And I think that's when we looked
Mhm.
at each other and said, we may have something here, which is funny because when I was in production, my husband worked at the same organization, and I told myself I would never work with him
Mhm.
again because it was not an easy pairing. But we've figured out roles now, and we now have Movement Maker Web Design. Our team is growing. We get to create incredible websites for people like Amani and those that are just extremely mission driven. And we like to say, we don't just launch websites, we launch movements. And that's what we do. So long road, but I would have no other way.
Okay. Now, how do you balance your time between family, websites, sales, speaking, and consulting? And if I forgot anything else.
Yeah.
Wifing,
And
Oh,
wifing.
yes. Oops.
writing and
Yes. Yes.
momming and well, I don't do everything. I do not. I say no to a lot of things, but I think the biggest thing that I like to make really transparent is I have a lot of help. Um, I hired a house manager to come and help me manage my house, meaning I don't make appointments for my children. So I have someone helping me make the orthodontist appointments and the dentist appointments. I have someone that helps me take them to the orthodontist appointments. I have someone help me pick them up from school. So this coming school year, they're scattered across 3 campuses. One of them is going to be a second grader. She can't walk home by herself. So I'll have someone pick her up and be there at the house. And I think women, especially women who are not even just working, but are building businesses, we have to dismantle this belief that we are somehow going to be successful and still be the same type of mother um, that you were before starting the business. One of the biggest stories, and I think the thing that really just kind of it was hard for me to accept is during 2020 when I was so passionate and so driven. I could see marketing director right in front of me. I mean, they told me I was on track, and at that point that's like what I had been spending my career trying to get to. But when we all had to go home and I was homeschooling the 3 kids and potty training one because my husband was considered essential, I could not go to the office, but I had a male peer who was same level as me that had a wife at home that took care of all of the kids. And he would go to the office, even though we weren't supposed to, would physically go to the office. And guess who was at the office too? The CEO.
Yeah.
And the
Mhm.
CEO also had a wife at home that was taking care of all of the kids. And so it was a harsh reality that I was not able to step into a role or opportunities because of the reality of just being a mom and being a wife. I wouldn't trade it. I wanted to be there. I needed to be there. But when I transitioned into business, I was like, hey, this just needs to look different for me. It just is. And so I have that amount of help inside the home. And I also have an operations manager that does all of my scheduling. for the business that handles all, like takes care of my email inbox. She's a project manager for everything. And so it's taken time. But on a really great day, I am focusing on sales and marketing, building the personal brand to attract people to Movement Maker. So on a really great, wonderful day, that's what I'm focusing on.
It's
Okay.
funny that you say that because so many years ago, I worked for a hotel company and we opened a brand new hotel. And in pre-opening, it's just you're working 16, 17 hours. It's nuts, right? And I remember one day I said to my boss, I need to take tomorrow off. And she, by the way, it was a she, was like, why? I was like, I have to do laundry. I have to open mail. I have to pick up dry cleaning. I have to do this. And she's like, but nobody else is taking time off. I'm like, everyone I work with is a man.
Yeah.
They all have wives. Like, I need a
Yeah.
wife. I used to say,
Yes.
like, I
Yes.
need a wife. Like, and so I know so many friends, so many C-level friends during COVID that went through the same thing that you went through. So I want to ask you this of I was a part of a conversation during that time frame where one woman was asking another woman advice.
Mhm.
And she was saying, I'm so flustered with all the appointments and the scheduling and this and that. Like, how do you do it? And the one woman was like, I have a grocery delivery service. I have a this, I have a that. Just like you're saying, I have a like, it's just not all of me. I've got all these
No.
resources and it's all set up. And the woman she was talking to was kind of appalled. She was looking at her kind of like, I would never do that. Like I would only be the one that drops off and picks up my kid. And I was watching this dynamic. I don't have children where my husband and I are child free. And so I'm not familiar with that. So I was just watching this dynamic and I was thinking, why is this woman appalled? And why is this woman so comfortable letting it go? Like I was happy with both of them. So I guess what advice do you have for that woman out there that might be appalled, right?
Mhm.
But like might not see the victory on the other side of this of outsourcing and having this whole village
Yeah.
help the family grow. What advice do you have?
I wish that I could sit here and say, you're going to be able to have the best of both worlds. You're
Mhm.
going to be able to outsource things and still feel like you're the exact mother that you want to be. But the truth is that I mean, I have a almost 14-year-old daughter that will make little comments because she's in that wonderful teen years,
Bless
and she'll
you.
make
Bless you.
comments like, well, when I get older, I'm going to stay at home with my kids and I'm going to be there for this and that. And so you like imagine me, I'm doing all of this because, I want to be a model to my children that it's possible to pursue something that you're extremely passionate about and still have wonderful, care for your kids and be flexible. Like, we took a whole week vacation off with them last week. But even in all of that, right? You're still going to have to be honest with yourself and say there are going to be trade-offs. You can't have it all. And I believe that we are created with limitations for a reason. Like I am a limited human being because I
Yeah.
am human.
Yes.
And every day I have chosen and I will have to uh accept I'm not going to say consequences, but I'm going to have to, at the end of the day, like when my children are adults, I will have to accept the reality that I chose to run a business and lead it. And that is what I've decided to do. And I'm fully preparing myself with coaching and therapy that when my kids invite me into a therapy session and have maybe questions on why couldn't you be at home? Why couldn't you pick me up? Why those things that will inevitably pop up. I want to be able to be there, to be emotionally mature enough to listen and to say, yeah, I hear where you're coming from. And yet still not have any regrets because I
Yeah.
know me. And I think it's gonna come down to this woman who's like, I could never. Um, you got to know yourself. I know that
Mhm.
at the end of the day, if I were to put all of this away and stay at home, I'm not a happy person. And I tried it. I did it for 3 months. In between leaving my full-time job and starting consulting, it was summer. So I was like, "You know what? I'm not going to do any client work. I've always wondered what it's like to be a stay-at-home mom." And so for 3 months I did it And I've never felt more jealousy, more envy. I'd see my single young friends, posting online and just being like, going to the grocery store. It must be nice to pick up and leave whenever you want to. And I was like, where is this coming from? But it just didn't work for me. So it may sound impossible to that person, like I could never, but the challenge that I will say to someone that's coming like that, if you have tried to lower the volume on that little voice that is just ambitious, and no matter how much you try, that little ambitious voice keeps popping up, always with the ideas, with the business ideas, with I could be doing this, or what if that happened? And if you've tried your hardest, I promise you, pouring all of that into your children who are inevitably going to leave because they're supposed to, that's not going to fix all of it. It's not going to be the thing that you're looking for. And that was for me. I could, as much as I tried, I could not turn off that ambition of wanting to do more. So, yeah.
That's a damn good clip, Leslie. Thank you. That's good. That's good. I hadn't even thought about, like, hey, you've got the ideas, you got the vision, you have the ambition, but you're substituting that for pouring it into your kids. I hadn't thought about what that looks like. And I bet that happens all the time. Good or bad, right? There's no right or wrong there, but I hadn't thought about, are you filling a void? Like, just don't fill the void. You can do it all, but you've got to use the resources.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Great information. Thank you.
Now, as we kind of take a shift, as you're designing websites and you're doing a lot of work on the daily, what are some current trends that you're observing that you think we, in terms of our audience, should be paying close attention to?
I love that. So it comes down to content. Every day we see existing websites that come through our doors that are just so word heavy. And it's just so natural for the business to feel like this needs to be a digital brochure about everything that we do and everything about who we are. And actually, we're right now in the middle of a large mental health practice that has about 10 or 12 services, and each of those pages, I mean, it's like a novel. You're just scrolling and scrolling. And so right now it is so much less about your word count and so much more about the person that you are talking to, right? And the reason for that is because your content needs to feel like a playground. People know that they can stop at your website and they can leave and never come back. And they expect more than just a whole bunch of services page and about us page. They want the resource hub. They want the videos. They want the podcast. They want the ebook downloads. They want the assessments. They want so many different things to play with as they consider if you're a right fit for them or not. And instead, I still see a lot of outdated strategy, which is a whole bunch of words and a contact form. And that simply isn't enough anymore. So that's definitely a trend of less of the digital brochures, more of the very client-centric language. And of course, and this is why Amani and I are investing so much time and resources into Brand Builders Group. Personal branding on your website is very key. People want to know who they're doing business with. So faceless company websites that feel cold and distant, they just don't cut it anymore. We work with a lot of business owners that have been around for a while. And so a lot of them tell me, well, marketing has never brought in any business for me. It's all been word of mouth and it's all been referrals. And I tell them, well, that was when you weren't doing business in a digital economy, and you are now. And so every day people are going to expect to find you online. And if they don't have anything to look at that looks great and is, high quality content, then they're going to piece out and they will choose someone that does. And that means even if the person isn't as educated as you, as knowledgeable as you, as experienced as you, if they have platforms that look better than yours, they will choose them. And I think when I present that information to potential clients, I think that's the thing that feels very weighty. because
Hmm.
building a personal brand is a weighty process unless you know what you're doing and you have frameworks and templates to follow. So that's certainly trending right now, and that people want people. People want to talk to humans. They don't want to talk to nameless, faceless companies anymore.
That's funny
People
you say
buy from
that.
people. People buy from people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
at our most recent accelerator this past week, the theme was like humanness,
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
that's very interesting that you would say that you weren't even there.
yeah.
What is maybe two or three of your favorite examples of how you see clients share their personal brand on their websites?
It's all about the way that we write, the way that we write our content. Again, it's not right out the bat talking about what you do. It's having a very keen understanding of who you're talking to and what they're dealing with and what they're going through. So I would say copywriting is extremely important. About personal branding, it's understanding the messaging, like how are you drawing them in. I would say the second thing is your call to actions. You would be very surprised to know that many people don't have call to actions throughout their website. A lot of them just stick to one in the top right corner, and they'll never have any throughout the other one. And I look at calls to action as a conversation. This is your way of allowing your website not to be a one-sided conversation, because who wants to be in a one-sided conversation? That's not human, right? So when we put very strategic call to actions throughout your website, throughout that page, it's like you're pausing and you're asking them and inviting them into that conversation. Hey, schedule some time for us to talk. Hey, discover more. Hey, take this 3-part quiz, whatever it is, but you're pausing to allow to hear from them. So I would definitely say that that's how we can insert that personal branding. And then, of course, when it comes to the resource hub, we call it a resource hub page. So uh, you could probably equate this to your blog. So maybe before you had a blog page, well, now we call it a hub. And so this is where you're not only going to host articles, you're going to have the videos, you're going to have the podcast, you're going to have the downloads, the assessments. This is where you really allow personal branding to shine, because this is where you can create content and post all of that in one place that gives them multiple things for them to do. So I would say copywriting is key, call to actions and invite them into a conversation, and then your resource hub, showing them all about who you are and how you help solve their problem.
What I bet that you're probably like Amani and I are in our separate fields, right? Like for me, for sales, whenever I'm interacting with a salesperson, there's like a couple things that I can scan quickly and I'm like, oh God, that was awful. Right. So like when you're scanning websites, like what are a couple things that are just like punches in the gut, or they just make you go, ew, like what are those things you're seeing?
So we do conversion optimization audits, when certain clients ask for them, and certain clients they need conversion optimization. And that's essentially us looking at the website and asking this big question: does your website call people to take action, and do they take action? So when I talk about those call to actions, one of the big things that I see again is they just have one call to action on a homepage. That's not a homepage that's optimized for conversion, because there's one place for them to do it, and they're scrolling and they could leave. Another thing is broken links. Like we don't realize, and a lot of times, especially when you're first starting out in business, you're building the page yourself, right? You're like, okay, I can't do maybe the second, third iteration of my website yet. I'm going to build it myself. But that quality control of looking at it, because if someone clicks on a link and it doesn't go where it's supposed to, done. In fact, 88% of people that have a bad experience on a website will never return to it. Never.
Wow, that's a huge number.
It's a huge number. And so when
Yeah.
you break that down, the average small business gets about, let's say, about 400 people to their website a month. Can you imagine if over 300 people never returned, never came back? And like if you were in front of those people and if you had a storefront, because I very much see your website as your home base, if it was a storefront and they couldn't even get through the door and they're like, I just won't come back.
Yeah, that's
So
awful. That's a big
you got to
number.
think about it that way. But if they have a great experience, if links are working, you're inviting them to the conversation with call to actions, they see themselves in the copy,
Mhm.
they
Mhm.
feel understood and heard, then it really can be a place that engages them. And I like to say your website should be the heart of your marketing strategy.
Mm.
It should be the thing that, just like a heart pumps energy into our body, your website should be pumping energy into all of those marketing platforms that you have that should be connected to the website. So yeah, those things kind of make me cringe. Um, Design wise, I mean, there are some things that you can just tell this website was built about 5 years ago. Maybe the logo's way too big. Here's a big one. You may be designing on desktop, but when you look at it on mobile, or maybe you haven't looked at it on mobile, and your mobile website is a mess, over 60% of people will look at your website on mobile, if not more.
Mm.
And so if it looks a mess and things aren't even there, and maybe there's like text all over your face because you didn't think about that for mobile, you're losing a lot of people because of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to re-listen to this and take notes, take action because this is like so much, too much
You
to
and
write
me
Let's
down.
go
both.
back and check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and me
How
both.
how is AI impacting SEO?
Oh, this is a great one. So I just got off a call with our SEO strategist, and she was talking about how even when we go back to copy on the website, we're not looking to create novels. We're looking for something to be engaging, to be client focused, and to be bite sized. Like I can grab onto that. So things like um, bulleted lists. And so we do a lot of that. We create good sections that have more bulleted lists, are really great because when Google is looking, and now Google has their own version of AI, Gemini,
Right.
and everybody is seeing that those top results are its AI overview. That AI overview isn't looking for a paragraph that is this long. It's looking for the bite-sized content that answers the question that someone just asked. So when you're thinking about creating content for your website, think about it that way. How can this be easier for an AI overview to be posted on Google? So that's definitely one way we're seeing it change. Another way that we're seeing it change, we work with a local nonprofit here, and she did on ChatGPT. She was like, "Tell me the top nonprofits that work with aged out foster youth." And she sent me the results, and she was like, "Why are we not on here?" And the crazy thing was from a local SEO perspective. So you have overall SEO, which helps you rank from like a national level, but then you have local SEO. So when you put specific keywords like your city that you live in or the city that you're doing business in, that's considered local SEO. Well, we realized that ChatGPT was only pulling the results or pulling organizations that had Google business profiles.
Mm.
Mm.
So even though we had
I've heard
done
that. I've heard that. Yeah.
we had done significant work from an overall SEO perspective, but we hadn't created a local SEO Google listing for them. AI wasn't even showing them at all. So that's something for a business to think about is, and you don't even really need a physical location anymore. I don't think, so long as you have an address that you can verify. Um, Create the Google business profile because
Yeah.
chat is going and looking online and it's going to pull those things, especially if you're a local business for sure.
Mm.
Now,
Right.
what if you've moved from one city to the next? Do you just change it in Google?
Yes. Yeah, you can go back and edit, and you can edit the address. They may have you verify. I'm sure they'll have you verify that. People were taking advantage of Google business profiles and putting like storage units or PO boxes. And some businesses said they had multiple locations, but it was just like a PO box here and a storage unit here, and it wasn't actually public facing. So in order for Google to cut down on that, they kind of make you walk through your physical location and
Mm.
prove that you actually have this building. So I'm sure there'll be a re-verification process if you change addresses.
Now, what's your response to people who say, we don't need a website anymore. We have our social media. Social media, that's
Oh.
my website.
Yeah. Well, social media, it could be turned off tomorrow, right? We've heard that. If Meta goes down, goodbye Facebook, goodbye Instagram. If somebody else buys X,
Again.
then it
Yeah.
could change, right? It can change that completely. Social media is also not conducive to this evergreen type content that's easy to find. And like when I think back about our resource hub, it's evergreen content. It lives in a place. It's not going to be moved around and you don't have to go searching for it. Social media is a marketing tactic, right? It's not a strategy. It's a tactic birthed out of a strategy. But again, that heart should be your website because you own it, because you can control it completely, and because you can capture contact information on the website. Now, again, there are platforms like ManyChat that you can have people DM you the word newsletter, and you can sign them up for your newsletter. So they're doing a lot of workarounds, but it's just not a foundational, strong enough place, in my opinion, for you to create evergreen content that's completely yours. Ultimately, even the biggest brands that you see on social media are pointing them back to a website.
Mhm.
So you could probably get so far. But a great example, let's say you are a baker and you're baking pies and you're taking all of your orders via DMs. That'll work until you start scaling, right? And now you can't keep up with your DMs. So there's not ways for you to integrate platforms and systems in order to scale. So social media is limited in the integrations that it can even have to help your business scale. Whereas your website, we build on WordPress. I mean, there are countless plugins and integrations for you to connect your CRM, for you to connect, a newsletter, for you to connect an ordering system, a point of sale system. So that's where you're going to probably find some success. But ultimately, in order to really build out your brand and to scale the business, you need a website.
Okay. Now, we've come to the point in the show where we flip the script and we let you ask both myself and Manny a question. No question is off limits. What question do you want to ask one of us, and who you going to ask that question to first?
Oh, okay, love it. Um, I will ask Amani. So, Amani, if you weren't doing what you were doing, right? So, alternative. I love thinking like alternative universe, right?
Hmm.
You did not have all that you're doing, didn't have the career, not where you are today, and that's not an option. What would you be doing? Alternative universe.
I'd say I'd work in sports.
Okay.
I would first be the star of a European soccer team like Liverpool. Then
Okay.
once my career was over, I would probably work as like the general manager of the sports team. That's what I think I would do. Now, of course, if football or soccer is not possible, then one of the other major sports across the country here in the United States. That's what I would do in an alternative lifestyle.
Oh, I love that. I always love thinking like if I wasn't doing what I'm doing now, what would I
Yeah.
be doing?
Since you said it's
Um,
not an option, because
it's
like,
not an
you
option.
know, the slow jam nighttime quiet storm DJ would be my sweet, sweet, sweet spot. Like that's not
Yes.
an option.
Yes.
Aw.
So yes,
Yes.
yes.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, and then Mandy, my question to you is, what recent quote, maybe you read it in a book, maybe you heard it on a podcast, maybe a conversation with a friend, made you pause and just like really have to sit with it for a little bit, and why?
Oh, geez. So many. Well, so many funny ones. Like, okay, I'm going to give you a couple because I stole it and I used it in our show last week. So, I can't remember who said it, but Amani, I said this last week when you interviewed me. Somebody said, your opinion is none of my business.
Oh yeah, that's a
Mm,
proper
And I
one.
love that. I love that. I believe that. I live that way. But when somebody said it, it was such a more succinct way to say it. And then a couple weeks ago, my workout trainer, I was trying to do something I couldn't figure out why. And she said, I think it's because you're proportionally challenged. I'm like, because I have big boobs. Like it was just like it just made me laugh. But it was
Yes.
also, I never occurred to me the things I can and can't do because of that. And there are many, right? And so now every time I go in to work out 3, 4 times a week, I have that in my head of like proportionally challenged, but like doesn't mean I can't do other
Yeah.
things. I know it sounds silly, but it caused me to think about all of the things that I couldn't do my whole life because of these things I've had since I was like 10 years old or
Yeah.
earlier. That I'm like, I'm just proportionally challenged. It's not a big deal. Like, there's so many other things that I can't do.
Yes.
So I don't know why after 50 years I'm just thinking about that now. But yeah, those were two things that come
I
to
love
mind as
that.
soon as you said that. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question, but I'd love for the both of you to answer this
Yes.
Okay.
one. So I don't know if either of you are watching the series The Bear.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. We are just on season 2, kind of in the middle of it, and this is where they're really trying to grasp the menu that they're going to launch with. And both Sydney and Marcus kind of go off and have this adventure of experiencing different tastes. Sydney goes in multiple places around Chicago, and she's just eating and thinking, and then they send Marcus to Copenhagen. And I'm imagining that was maybe the first time he was out of the country, but just taking in these sights and these tastes. And it made me think about inspiration and how important is inspiration is to our craft and what we do. And so my question to the both of you is, where do you go and or what do you do in order to be re-inspired?
Oh, I'm going to answer this first because I was just writing about this in my journal this weekend. So I love this. I'm going to answer a bunch of things. So, inspiration for our podcast. I listen to a lot of podcasts that are have a male and female co-hosts
Mhm.
Hmm.
because I'm very interested in like what does the top of the show look like? What does the wrap of the show look like? How do they go back and forth? What is their interaction? Is there always one crazy one and one stable one? Like what does that all look like? Right. So I'm interested in how people ask questions. My aunt was telling, she was a corporate litigator, and she was telling me the best answers she ever got from witnesses were 5-word questions.
Mm.
And so in this show over the last several months, there was a couple times where I'm like, oh, I'm going to do an Aunt Dina question. Like I'm trying to incorporate like a 5-word question. So that's for the podcast. But I think for other parts of my world, I hop on my bike.
Mm.
Anytime I ride my bike in silence, like no music or anything, but anytime I ride my bike in silence, I will get inspiration. If I'm ever looking for inspiration, if I'm ever looking to sort out the tangled up things in my brains, which inevitably happen like all the time, I just hop on my bike. And I used to ride my bike more, like I haven't been on it in 2 months. And over the weekend, I was like, I got to get back on my bike. Like when I'm riding my bike regularly, I feel so much more even keel. And it's because I get all my inspiration. Like my best marketing ideas, my best like sales tactics, my best ways to be a wife and a daughter and all these other things. It literally all comes when I'm on a bike. So that's yeah, I'm glad you asked because I've just been writing about it all weekend.
I love that.
Yeah.
So for me, I had to go through a point where I was writing my most recent book where I had to actually go on a trip, like a solo writing retreat. I went from LA to Grand Marais, Minnesota, was in an Airbnb for like 5 days, 4 nights, right by Lake Superior. Was able to
Oh,
get
wow.
inspired there. A lot of driving to get there. So that was good. On a smaller basis, I like to go for walks. I like
Mhm.
to read books. I love to listen to a certain order of Mariah Carey albums that really help me.
Mm.
And those are like the main things that I do. And then there's one book where you could do like a 10 or a 12-week exercise, like The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
Uh-huh.
And if
Oh,
you do that
it's so
weekly,
good.
that really helps to kind of unlock or get some things unstuck. So I think it's a combination of those three things that I'll work on.
Mm. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with both of you, just changing up, like even physically being somewhere different is
Yeah.
very key.
Yeah.
What about you? Let's flip this back on you. Where do you find inspiration? What do you do to loop up the inspiration wheels?
I love the Renaissance. I the Renaissance period to me is just so inspiring. So we I celebrated my 40th birthday and I wanted to go back to Italy. So we came back from Italy in May, but I love going to museums. So whether I am in Florence or the last time I was in Nashville, I went to their art museum and I could just walk and stand in front of these paintings. And I think why I'm so moved by the Renaissance too is just the level of creativity and beauty without the help of any of the technology that we have today. Like it's mind-boggling to me that
Yeah.
the way that they were able to paint and music and right it just everything without any of the things that we have that help us. So I'm very inspired by that. So if I need to just get out of my head and move locations, I'll go to an art museum, and then same physical location, also leaving for quiet silent kind of retreats. The last one that I went on was last August, and there was this little island called Anderson Island off of Seattle,
Mm,
and it was just quiet. It was just gorgeous. It was in the summer, and I just sat and stared at trees and went hiking by myself. And there's just a lot of beauty in that. It's like, I don't know if there's a quote, but there's like nature just like washes over me and kind of cleanses all of the stuff that kind of keeps running here. So those two things are pretty key for me.
Oh, trees tell so many stories, don't they?
Mhm.
mm,
Like
Mhm.
I feel like I can just sit, like I'm looking at a tree right now, but I feel like I can sit and just stare at trees and just like there's life. There's so much
Yes.
stories in it. Yeah.
yeah.
And longevity. When I on one of the
Mhm.
hiking, trails that I was on over there, it was called the Grandmother Tree Trail, and it's because you end up going to this clearing, and they actually created a bench, and you're looking at this huge, I don't know if it's like a sycamore or redwood, whatever is out there, beautiful, but it's huge, and it's because it's been around for hundreds of years, and I just sat there and thought about all that she had endured, and there
Mm,
wasn't selfishness in her taking to stand and to
Yeah.
be as tall as she was and as large as she was. And so yes, I think trees say so much, and so taking that in was extremely inspirational for me.
that's awesome.
Interesting. Now, two-part question here. Because, and I'll kind of give you some context. Most creatives, like all three of us on this interview right now, don't see the value of investing in themselves. They just
Mm.
they don't kind of understand that concept. What inspired you to invest in yourself by joining Brand Builders Group?
Ah. Well, I think it's a similar story to many of us that talk about how we got into Brand Builders Group. I was listening to a podcast. I had put off um, really taking that extra step into my own personal brand. I think in my mind, because I've come from media and production, I understand marketing. I think I just justified that I know how to do this. I can figure it out. I can figure it out. But it was when Rory Vaden was on the podcast and said that there is someone out there sending a signal, hoping that and praying that you will show up and begin to give the answers that they're looking for. And so that was just incredibly weighty, because at
Mhm.
that point it wasn't just okay, I'll figure it out. It was like people are waiting for you to figure this out, and you keep putting it off because you'll find plenty of other things to do. And I was getting distracted and stuck in a lot of client work because it's easy to do that. But when I thought about why my heart can't seem to turn off and why it feels like I sometimes, and I don't know if you guys have ever felt this way, but you're like you're jumping out of your skin knowing that you're supposed to be doing something. And when he equated it to, well, the reason you feel that is because people are sending a signal out for you to do it. That's when I knew, okay, I need it. This is serious. This is like, I believe, we get one life to live. And so this is like what I'm being called to do, and I can't play around anymore, and I need someone to help me do it. And so that was my justification of just jumping in and saying yes. And I'm so glad that I did.
Nice. Now, if we go back to talk to Leslie as she's graduating from St. Mary's in San
Oh,
Antonio,
Mhm.
that
yes.
younger version of yourself, what advice
Uh-huh.
would you give to that, Leslie, based on everything you've been through and know now?
Don't be afraid to just don't be afraid to quit
Mm,
things. I when I was I straight from St. Mary's, I went into that producing role. And it's not very common for you don't see a lot of 22-year-olds hanging around an organization or a place for 13 years. And I think by year 10, I knew that I had hit like my ceiling. I knew that I had probably done as much as I could. And yet, I think I stayed 3 years too long.
Mm.
mm,
And if I could go back and tell her something, it would be don't be afraid to quit things. And it's just there was just so much fear. There's so much fear as to like what would I do? What if I don't get a job? And because we had a very young family at the time. Like I said, my husband worked at the same organization, so and there were parts of his own fear that were maybe projected onto me, like no, you can't leave. Let's just stick it out. But I would just be like, just do it. Like just quit and see what falls into place, because you honored that I don't know, that feeling inside of yourself that it was time, instead of suppressing it. And then unfortunately, spending years then to untangle what it's like to not know your inner voice anymore. And I've had to spend a lot of years now figuring out how to trust myself again, because I had just cut off my ability to do that because I was looking to everybody to tell me what I needed to do.
Mm.
So yeah, I would definitely tell her, just quit and see what happens.
See what happens. You can always go back.
Always
yes.
go back. But
Uh,
I just, yeah, and in any situation when I've had made big bold moves that I was afraid to do, it's just we've been provided for. Like it's worked
mhm.
out. So yeah, just quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I want to know about babes support babes
Yes.
because I saw
Yes.
that. I'm like, I want to be in that. That's like so
Yes.
fun. Tell me all about it.
So in between, uh, when I put down my business and went into full-time marketing, like I said, I still had my LLC. So I can never just cut off my entrepreneurial visionary spirit. Like it just happens. I will have ideas and they need to go somewhere. So in 2018, my sister wanted to host a handmade makers market and had always wanted to. She was a handmade maker. And so she asked if she could host it in my neighborhood pavilion. So she had about, I don't know, 10 or 15 vendors come out. And we say that we had about 75 people come to the market. It doesn't matter that there was a swim team practice going on and all those people were the parents walking back and forth.
It's a great
But
opportunity for buyers.
exactly, they got to
Yes.
shop. And
Yes.
anyway, but her big thing, and she called it Babe Support Babes, because she had been at markets where the vendors just wouldn't talk to each other. It was very catty. And her big thing was community over competition. So what we didn't expect is when that market was over, all of the vendors looked at her and said, when is your next one? Because we
Mhm.
want to join. Because I had helped market the market. I had kind of coached each of the vendors on how they could show up, work on their own branding and all of those things. And so they had experienced a market in a very different way, and they wanted more of it. So in the fall, we hosted another market. I think we had 30 to 40 vendors, over 300 people came, and it was
Wow.
like a huge community event. And she looked at me, and that's when she was like, do you want to officially be a part of this? And because I had put down the business stuff, and I was in between working a corporate job. I was like, I think this is my way of like channeling this energy. And so we built Babes Support Babes. From then on, we transitioned in and was able to overcome the pandemic. We launched a community, a membership community. In January of 23, she found a event space, a venue that we call our home. And about around that time, or was it 22? Around 2022, I actually stepped out because that's when I was out on my own and we were building the consulting business. And so she runs it completely. I sit on the board. But you talk about a community for women that maybe have told themselves, I could never. I
Yeah.
could never start a business and still be able to show up for my family in a way because they've never seen it. We've been able to create events, a community, and just women that are all in it together and genuinely want to see themselves grow. And so my sister has just done a phenomenal job of cultivating a one of a kind experience in San Antonio to now. It's crazy. 7 years later, Babe Support Babes in San Antonio is one of the top female entrepreneur companies in San Antonio. But to your point, Mandy, she gets people all of the time sending her messages asking, can you bring BSB to my city? Can you teach me how
Yeah.
to open a chapter in my city? And so I don't know. I don't know if that's a part of her future, but it's just been the best thing to be a part of the foundation of all of that.
We should have her talk to Liberty, our guest from last week, who's a
Mhm. Yeah.
franchise expert, because
Oh, nice.
this is like a right conversation for her. We'll connect you guys offline, but
Please do.
that is awesome. So speaking of babes supporting babes, you've given us an hour of your time. How can we support you? How can we lift you up and share more with the world about what you're doing?
Oh, I love that. Thank you for the opportunity. I think if anyone listened to today's podcast and kind of thought about, I don't know if my website is quite meeting the mark
Yeah.
in this digital economy, then we got you. We have a very short little 5-minute audit that you can take on our website today. And based off of our own framework, which is an acronym for HEART. So human centered, empathetic. It needs to be accessible, responsive, and trustworthy. So based off of that, we will help you audit your own website. And so you'll get results right then and there. And if you're curious on, reaching out to me and seeing, hey, how can I elevate this website so it's high performing and high converting, then we'd love to be able to talk to you about that too. And you can do all of that on movementmaker.pro.
I love that. And then if you can email us the link to
Yes.
that audit, we'll put that in the show notes. So anybody
Perfect.
listening or watching, you can get your website audited by movement makers. And I think that would be amazing. Now, let me ask one final question. I know just for my own website or no Monty's website, I think sometimes people feel like, oh, they're going to audit it and say, I need to buy a whole new website. So what reassurances can you give people that are like, listen, we might just tweak what you currently have, or like, how would that process look in case somebody, I just don't want them to be
Yeah.
deterred by that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it all depends on your goals. I mean, there are easily we have services that help you maintain the website. So if you're just done being the one uploading a picture, tweaking copy here and there, we certainly can help you do that. And that's extremely affordable. It's just month to month. But if you are looking for something and you know that the website really isn't functioning and optimized for a digital economy, and you are looking for something that is kind of your second or third iteration of a website, then we'd love to help you with that. But no, it doesn't mean that you need to have a full facelift. And in fact, at the end of the audit, depending on your results, we give you a free download on how to build out your homepage section by section and everything that you need to have included with
Wow,
it.
that's
So
awesome. What about you?
you could really do it yourself if you wanted to, based off of just those helpful tips that we'll give.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Well, I have to let you know that next June I'll be headed to San Antonio for an event, so I can't wait to meet
Yes,
your husband, your
yes.
family, all the team. So I had to let you know that. And
Oh, yes.
yes, yes, just can't wait to see you at maybe another BBG event when we're there together. But
Yep.
thank you for your time. We love the work you're doing. You gave us a lot of notes. Like we got a
Oh,
lot of things
good.
to go check out. So we appreciate your wisdom and expertise. And we just encourage everyone to follow Leslie, and we'll give you a round of applause and put you back in the green room momentarily. So round of
Thank
applause.
you
Thank you
so
for being
much.
with us.
Thanks for being here, Leslie. It was really nice to meet you.
Loved it. Thanks.
Okay, Mandy, another great episode.
Yeah, I
And
got to
next week,
re-listen to that one. Take a lot of notes. Do the
yeah,
audit. I got action steps,
I
mommy.
got work to do.
Yeah, we
I gotta
do.
send Leslie another different note about my website for the book. But anyways, next week, who do we have to look forward to?
We have Lindell Larkin.
Oh, so Linda Larkin's coming, an amazing coach, human. She's got great experience across multiple industries. So she's going to be taking us to school. So we can't wait to see her. Um, if you're watching or listening, make sure that you rate, review, subscribe on the platform you're watching or listening on. Make sure to tell a friend. Please subscribe on YouTube. Thanks to our guest today, Leslee Owen. And with that, we will see everyone next week, 4 p.m. on the East, 1 p.m. on the West. Take care, everyone.
Bye.